On today's episode, we're finally diving into a New Haven pizza story with the pizzeria that's been around since 1938. Let's welcome Brent Lunsford from the iconic Sally's. Brent, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I've been wanting to talk to someone from New Haven, and I think you guys are the first ones, and it's the most iconic pizzeria, so I couldn't be happier to have you on.
Well, I'm honored to be representing New Haven and New Haven style beats. Yeah, can't wait to talk and dive more into it.
Awesome. Really cool. So, most of my audience, we definitely have industry people, but a lot of the audience are pizza lovers and people who might not know Sally's story. And so that's what I kind of want to start with is just talking about, how it started, what the scene was back in 1938, because you guys have been around a really long time.
Yeah, we sure have been. We are pushing 90 years old at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome to be continuing carrying the torch doing that. So we opened in 1938 in New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven at the time, in the early 1900s, there was a large immigration movement from the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah.
New Haven, had pretty much a deal being like, we'll give you like $500 if you move your family to New Haven and to Connecticut, and we'll get you a job. There's like a locksmith factory or something like that in the area, and so a lot of people were there like producing locks, and so they all came down and kind of moved this one area called Wooster Street. And with the immigration, they bring their flavors, they bring their traditions, they bring their food, they bring home with them. And so pizza was home for a lot of these people from the Amalfi Coast. And so the first pizzeria that opened was in 1925, and that was Frank Pepe's, which,
Yeah.
if you know anything about New Haven, and there's what's called the Big Three, which is Frank Pepe, Sally's a Beat, and then Modern. And so Frank opened up his down Worcester Street in 1925, and with it, he had people working for him, and two of them were his nephews, Salvatore Consiglio and Tony Consiglio. And so the Consiglios were all part of the same family and worked for Uncle Frank for a couple years. And then, as rumor has it, there was a fallout between Tony and Uncle Frank. And so Frank ended up firing Tony. And so Sally, being the good and loyal older brother that he was, quit in solidarity with Tony. And they ended
Yeah.
up working in the lock factory for about a year. About a year after doing that, they got tired of it. And then their mother, Philomena, ended up selling about $500 worth of jewelry. And there was another bakery just down the road that they ended up buying. And they turned it into another pizzeria. And another fun little rumor is, why the name Sally is kind of like Tony's idea.
I was going to ask you that. I'm glad
When
you were saying it.
Yeah, so mom bought it, younger brother wanted to start it with them. So when they were at Tony and Sally went to go file for the license, and Sally was old enough to do it and Tony wasn't. And so when they said name of business, he put Sally's
And
down
so
as
it just became Sally's from
name
that.
Sally's. So Sally's in, 1938. They're very close in style between Frank Pepe's and Sally's, but there's some pretty major differences. Our sauce, I think, is more tomato forward. We
Yeah.
both have that signature thin crust and char. Our dough has slightly different hydration level points as well, and they do sliced moots, where at Sally's we do the shredded moots. And
Wow.
yeah, so then Modern came on about 20 years later or so, but they've been around a long time, and since then it's grown. Connecticut has the largest per capita number of family-owned pizzerias in the nation and Italian concentration anywhere else in the country. So it's a huge Italian and pizza, area, and especially state.
That's so cool. Yeah. So my, origin is Western PA, and we have, I think, a smaller Italian population, but very similar where we have concentrated areas of Italian and a lot of Italian places that have been open between, 50, 60, 100 years.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I grew up outside of Dallas and then by way of New Orleans, which my mom was from. I lived in southern Mississippi for about like 10 years. And so the New Orleans area is where my family, my Italian side, the Tarantinos came. And so around the same time, actually, they, came from Palermo. And so to your point, like the Italians, like we all kind of nestled in our own little areas. We brought our culture with us. And
Yeah.
it's very interesting to see these like the longevity of these like established family owned restaurants and like the flavor that you get mixing like a New England with Italian, like a tri-state with Italian, a New Orleans with Italian, like all these flavors come together. And I think that's like, one of the most exciting things about food and like America as the melting pot as a whole.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, has Sally's kind of kept with the same menu or how have things evolved through the years?
Yeah. I think one of the easiest and hardest parts of my job is that we don't change things from 1938.
It's awesome.
I came on, the canvas is done, the dough is made, the sauce, all of it is there. I just kind of get to paint with a little bit of a different brush, but in the same style that Sally did, you know. So, when New Haven Up Beats started, it was just tomato pies at the end of the day, just bread and sauce, and that was it. The moots was even a topping for pizzas, and so our style, especially, is a little lighter on the cheese in a lot of places, and so that we still stay very true to how we proof the dough, the way we pat the dough. We don't stretch. It's a very soft, slightly higher hydration than a normal, like a New York style. The way we sauce by hand, still gloves if we're in the restaurant for sure. And
Sure.
yeah, we keep them clean. And the way we dress the pies, the theology as almost of how the process is done, don't change by any means. Seasonality was always a thing because seasonality just was a thing back in the day. It just, you ate what was grown. And so I think that is something that kind of has lost its way with a lot of pizzerias over the years. But I'm proud to say Sally's, like, we do seasonal vegetable pies, we do seasonal pies that kind of like as Sally did, like he had a tomato garden in the back. And so the fresh tomato pie became a huge, huge staple of Wooster Street. And like now we only do it in the summer because, why wouldn't you want to showcase the best produce you could? And so, keeping things made, the process, everything the same way, and like really owning that level of respect and like carrying that as a badge of honor. We don't really, we do what we do. We say like it's charred, not burnt, you know,
Yeah.
our pies, like we're proud of who we are and what we've been doing since 1938 and it's worked for us this far. So why change it now?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we have not been open as long as you guys. My grandfather opened back in 1960, but we still do everything the same.
Yeah.
Same dough, everything.
Yeah, you can keep things fresh, you can look at trends even, you can see what's happening, you can, like, pivot your menu, a little bit to, if guests are asking, we're not being a stick in the mud either, we will adapt, but who we are as a core, that is what we do, and that's who we are. Yeah, and that's something we're not gonna bend on. I'm fortunate enough, like, I'm not a Consiglio, I'm not a member of the family, but, I got to work next to, Ricky, who's Sal's son. He grew up there, so his son's Ricky and Bobby, which
Yeah.
if you're a Will Ferrell fan, there's Talladega Nights, the movie, and the Ricky Bobby. So I kind of giggle a little bit every time, but Ricky and Bob, sweethearts. And Ricky, I've been able to pick his brain over the years now and like kind of, what's important? What would your father say? What did you do? What meant the most to your mom? Like these are iconic, people of the town, of the community. It's a spot, these family owned pizzerias, these are spots that like fed generations. And
Yeah.
especially when you work, and I know you know this too, but from the 1960s, it's nothing to bat an eye at. We have people who's like my great grandfather came here and who brought me, it's like generations and like it just means so much to people. And so like that's why it's all the more important to make sure that we are not like rewriting the book on this.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. What are some of the values and the things that kind of hold true today that were started by the original owners?
Yeah, I think honestly, like he cared about the product more than anything, like he wanted to take care of the neighborhood. They called him the Pied Piper of Wooster Street a lot because, there would be kids, running around the streets and, there's a little arcade next door and he would tell them, you come in, you wash some dishes, I'll give you pizza, that type of thing. He wanted to take care of the kids and make sure, keep them out of trouble, give them a job. We had people who were working in the pizzeria from the 19 like Ds up until like 2020. They were there for like their entire life. We have somebody who's been washing dishes on Worcester Street now for like 50 years. Like
Wow.
these people have like stayed with us, and like I think it's because of the legacy that Sally he started. He cared about his food, he cared about his community, and he cared about the people who he served.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are so similar to my family's business. My grandfather was the same man, really cared, wanted to be part of the community, and the fact that you guys are still doing it today now is so cool. Now, we have to touch on this, and because I've always been curious, like, you guys are top level, I think, as far as pizzeria, like, well-known, famous. When did this start? Has this been kind of since the beginning, or when did you really see that, like, you guys were just known?
Yeah, I mean, The line is kind of synonymous with Sally's at this point. Like, you go to Wooster Street, you're expecting to wait sometimes in a 2-hour line.
Yeah.
For a lot of pizza lovers, enthusiasts, this is like a pilgrimage almost. We have people from all around the world who come in and will wait in these lines, and it is kind of crazy. They were forming in like it happened in the 80s and the 90s. So it's been around. It has progressively gotten more popular once like the one bite pizza reviews
Yeah.
started going. And like that was like a big moment for us for sure and helped us, especially during COVID, because, the shutdown. And then, you get someone had a mega platform and says, like, we're their number one. Like, we're not mad at that. It is an honor and a
Yeah.
privilege, but like we've had like, you know, another cousin, also named Tony, used to be a driver for like Frank Sinatra, back in the day. So like the Rat Pack would come by, and our first delivery we ever did was to Frank Sinatra in New York. He came through in New Haven and had a slice, and then he came into New York and is like, I want some more of that pizza. And
Wow.
so they ended up driving it, or I don't, horse and buggy, who knows? Probably a car, I would assume, by the point down, all the way to him. And we have like Hillary Clinton came on their first date with Bill to Sally's, where they're at Yale. John F. Kennedy did ate and then did an event in Worcester Square down the street. So it's been strange to be kind of a part of this pop culture, uh, and not like mainstream all the way, but like in the background a little bit, which has been fun. But then like if you people who know pizza, they know Sally's. And like, again, like not even like just like we've been open since 1938, the stress of like keeping consistency and like really trying to continue to care about the product and have everyone on board, but also just like the legacy. It's
Yeah.
huge.
No, absolutely. What are some of the elements you feel like really keeps that legacy alive?
Yeah, I mean, the New Haven culture at its core, just the support from the community is one of those things that push us,
Yeah.
to stay true to who we are, because at the end of the day, that they're the strongest judges for sure. We have a lot of people in our company. We come from hospitality backgrounds,
Yeah.
and so taking care of people is always important to us. And so hospitality is crucial for us. We want to be always curious about how can we improve what we're doing. Just because it has been done a certain way, if there is something that could say increase it, like say like if we were using some product, an ingredient for the last 20 years, but we have one that is, we
Yeah.
will use the better product now because we want to use the freshness, the core, the technique, the training, the style, the foundation would never change again. But if we can make improvements on it and like keep growing it without, not becoming stagnant and just like resting on our laurels and, being proud, because we could say, Dave Portnoy says we're the best. Everyone loves us. We're so popular. We're that girl. All that. We could
Yeah.
and not keep pushing, but then like, you know, it, a shark that doesn't swim dies. So like
Yeah.
we're gonna keep going. We are hungry at the end of the day to make people happy, to make the best product we can, and to continue. We want to be here for another 190 years.
Yeah, that's the key to a successful business because I always think of like, of owning businesses your condition either goes up or it goes down. So if you're not making that forward progress to continue to grow, then
Yeah.
things will start to drop.
100%. And you have to like listen to the trends, what your guests are saying, the feedback you're receiving, and you have to be able to receive that without this pride, you know,
Yeah.
getting in your way. Again, be who you are and stay true to yourself and like what made you where you are today. But you have to be humble enough to eat a slice of humble of eats, as it were, sometimes. And,
Yeah,
be prepared to say, what can we do to be better? How can we make somebody else, feeling better when they leave than when they came in?
for sure. Now, I don't talk about this a lot, but I do have a question as far as the marketing because I want to talk about how the pizzeria promoted itself like at the beginning versus the evolution of everything now today.
Yeah. It was, in the beginning, it was as basic as you can imagine. Like it was called like Sally's for pizza at first, just like little magnets or like, just word of mouth kind of getting around and people just like the allure of it all. We then, there were artists who would come by and then start putting us in their cartoons or like having their cartoon character. Like I forget the cartoon strip right now. Like, forgive me. My people are gonna be so mad at me for forgetting, but like it might as well be like Peanuts or Garfield eating a slice of Sally. It's like it was a big cartoon strip, and all of a sudden Sally's is in it. We're
Yeah.
in this pop culture thing too. There's an episode, so we have this thing. It's called like the red phone, and
Mhm.
so if you don't know, like Sally's at a time, like to order a pizza, near impossible to get takeout. You had to wait in line, yada, yada, yada. There was a red phone that Flo, who was Sally's wife and worked, with him forever, would answer a secret number. And she'd give this out to like local people who she knew, people, her favorites, that. And if you had that line, you could call it and get Sally's. And so there's an episode of The Simpsons actually, where like the president has like the phones next to his desk and it's like, call like, London, call, like or call Sally's. There's three phones next to them. And so like advertising, we just kind of popped in pop culture. But then I would say once our hospitality group, we ended up buying in 2018 from the Consiglio brothers, social media at the end of the day has been a huge for us, and like these things, these people who do, and it's not even us at the end of the day. And I think that's something that you really need to consider. It's not even your own marketing, it's other people's marketing who are coming into your business. And so like you have to expect every single guest is going to have a fan base of 6 million people and they're going to say like this is either the best or the worst. And like you have to treat every single pie like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. Now, for someone who's never been into your place, never I don't think there's been a lot of people that haven't heard of you guys. What would you want to tell them?
We especially if you're coming into Wooster Street. At this point, we have seven restaurants that are open, and outside of our New Haven, we have a full menu that is expanded. A Beats is definitely the core and the center of who we are. It always will be. But we
Yeah.
got appetizers, salads, entrees, desserts, cocktails, beer, wine. The whole shebang shabam. If you are waiting in the line and you on Worcester Street, like feel that, like it's like a moment. Like if you were there, like if you are a true pizza lover, like let that anticipation build. It's like waiting in like a like Expedition Everest at Disney World or something like that. Like you need to buckle up and get ready to really experience something. Look at the pictures on the wall, see all the people who came here. Think about the generations of family who worked there, who have eaten there, who have like, spent and had some of their best and worst moments of their life in this building.
Yeah.
Places that are old, they're almost like have their own energy, their own like spirit at a certain point. And so like you're a part of something special when you come in. And like when you're sitting down, like you're eating from that oven that's over 100 years old at this point. And like you are getting pies that have been served this way since 1938. And so just be open. I would say like our level of hospitality has changed over the years. There is, the New Haven at Beats restaurants used to be synonymous with, kinda take it or leave it service, as it were.
Yeah.
And we've pivoted a little bit more. So hopefully you'll have a little bit more of a warm and welcoming experience than you might have had, say 20, 30 years ago. But, to some people that was the magic too. And, the
Yeah.
charm. Um, but yeah, just yeah, I don't know, come in, be prepared, be open-minded, and don't say it's burnt because it's not, it's charred.
It's not burnt,
It's
guys,
not
it's
burnt, it's
charred.
charred.
Supposed to be that way.
That's right, exactly. Intentional. Coal fire. It's a crazy thing to work with. It's fun.
Awesome. And can we go through, like, I mean, obviously we know all the good times and we've seen the growth and the expansion and everyone knowing the name, but what are some challenges that you guys have faced?
Yeah. I mean, with anything, it's the legacy first and foremost. Almost no matter what you do, you'll get a Sal's rolling over in his grave, or this is not as good as XYZ, or, how dare they? Or, like, I don't know if you've ever been on social media, but the comment sections are not always the kindest place.
Yeah.
So consistency is for me the most important thing. We have people who have been training for years to roll it out. And sometimes when you open up a new restaurant, you have 3 weeks sometimes to like train people to do this process. And like we've been able to do it. And like I've had some of the best of Sally's pies outside of New Haven without question. Some of the best shaped pies are out of there, and like I truly do believe that we are a truly consistent product across all of our restaurants. But yeah, I think that is what the biggest hurdle would be, is the consistency, and to make sure that, you do stay fresh and that people aren't getting tired of you, and that, we are trying to continuously raise that bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So what time does the line start?
Sometimes honestly about like usually about maybe 15, 30 minutes before we open, you can start seeing a person or two wait out there. I don't
Yeah.
know if we've ever had like people with tents yet, but
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe one day. But no, we have actually started putting umbrellas out there for people in the summer.
That's nice.
nice little touches, umbrellas and like I think this was last winter we were even like we were passing out like hot apple cider and like giving
Oh,
people
that's
water and
nice.
things. Yeah, nice touch. You're gonna wait that long, we got to take care of you for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you guys have a day that it's like, this is the craziest day of the year?
So there is this one festival now. It's called the Apizza Feast, and like it is in this like area, and all of the New Haveners, all the pizzerias come together, and it is just insanity in this festival. It's also the day this like bicycle race takes over, and so like the town is kind of shut down, and then people are coming to it. It's just line out the door all day too, and it's just it's so crazy because it brings now all these people who want to try this pizza in, and so but anytime is like the summer will always be busy. Once the weather gets really nice,
Yeah.
good luck. There's still lines in the winter, but like as the weather gets warmer, as holidays, when kids are out of school, people are able to travel, they will. And those who want to travel for pizza, they come to Sally's.
Awesome. Well, Brent, thank you so much. We should go over. I mean, I know, you guys are so popular on social media, but guys, if you don't follow them, follow them. Sally's a pizza. That's I'm just going to say it like that because
Yeah, it's
that's how
confusing for
you
people for
that's
sure.
how you're going to find it
Yeah.
on Instagram. And where else can they find you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you name it, we're there at this point. You can find us on DoorDash if you want to order in the area. You can find us. We have our website. We have our socials, TikTok. I think we're on Instagram, Facebook. Oh, follow us anywhere. We've got a really really strong team making some really fun videos, and hopefully spreading the love of a beats for sure. Come check us out.
Yeah, they're everywhere. If you haven't heard of them, you probably have. Make sure you're following them. You guys are on my list. I hate to admit this because I feel like I'm probably going to get some like flack for it, but I have not been up to you guys yet.
Man, man. Well, I mean, the invitation's there. Please let me know because I'd love to host you.
I will. I'm planning to be up there. But again, thank you so much for taking the time. I loved hearing about the story. This is incredible. And I loved having you guys on.
No, a real pleasure. Anytime. Thank you so much.